Let's honor the good teachers, the good coaches, mentors, the elders, trainers, good managers, bosses, good parents. As we honor the good teachers we've had in life, let's recognize those bad ones too. And let's recognize when you begin to move from being a student to being a teacher yourself and being a master, that you can learn a lot from fools and bad teachers. So let's honor them fools too. Peace. I'm Travis Sotawell. It's Pure Sound Daily Business. Wanna look at good teachers, leadership, and notice that credibility is one of the things that comes to mind. As I was taking notes for this podcast, credibility and tribalism. As I was thinking of these positions that I believe should be, can be held sacred in our society. Now, these are sacred positions. The position of a teacher and the various names we have in the specialized areas therein. The builders of civilization, right? The builders of our society. The teachers of the youth. Shout outs to the mothers, our first teachers. Shout outs to the good ones, shout outs to the bad ones. And therein lies the rub. Tribalism, all of our mothers. Sometimes we love them too much to admit their failings. Too much to admit the failings of educational system. The tribalism, unions, all these different things. Just pure friendship. And I talk about my small P purpose, one of my missions that spins off, is why I say, my mission, my values, and my goals definitely blend together in that the mission of having everyone know parts of business, principles of business, how business is done and how organizations are run, is so that we can hold each other accountable. That's where it ties into my values. Honesty. Being honest enough to look at who's doing what, when, how, and why. Definitely when we're just looking at organizations and businesses, and teachers and managers within these frameworks, is that if you ain't doing the job, you ain't doing the job. And I always look to improve a system, and for me, improving the system is one, so the system is effective, and that it's effective enough that we can see where the missing structure is. And that missing structure might be a person. I find it very interesting when we talk about these different energies of psychological type and our relationships with them. And what I've seen in my lifetime is don't hate the player, hate the game. When I disagree with that overall. Yeah, there might be a couple instances here and there, or it's just kind of cute. We're talking about somebody dunking on somebody else, and that somebody else gets put on a poster for all eternity. I don't hate the player, hate the game. Yes, it is what it is. So the cute stuff is the cute stuff. However, we're not talking about cute stuff. We're talking about criminality. Talking about creeps, freaks, and frauds. And when we're talking about creeps, freaks, and frauds, criminals, we're talking about hate that sin, as the Bible says, and not the person. However, people are who get held accountable. Businesses can be held accountable. And ultimately, it's so the people are held accountable. Because it's the people operating the business. It's the people doing the criminal acts. And in my lifetime, I've seen the tendency to blame the system, which a system cannot be held accountable. I was even looking at something the other day, and I ain't going to name any names just because for those who know, because he's an Asiatic, does good work online. I enjoy his YouTube videos. And he was talking some political commentary with a younger man, and the young man was talking about how in a book he was talking about the presidents, and he doesn't name the presidents' names. They only talk about what number, President 38. And he was saying because it doesn't matter because all the presidents are the same and they represent this oppressive system. I don't agree with that. Call out names, call these people out that have been doing the bad work, and hold them accountable. And as we talked about in the last podcast of leading yourself, part of leading yourself is holding yourself up to a standard. Holding yourself up, holding yourself accountable. And that's where this starts. It's giving yourself permission to be yourself and knowing that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have mishaps. You don't go in, or let me say, we go in, excuse me. We go in to do no harm. We go in to serve. We go in to do the good work. We go in to be of service. Sometimes mistakes are going to get made. But if we keep that intention that we're never doing harm, and we're actually, on the flip side, we're not even thinking about doing harm, we're seeking to serve, we're going to be okay. And if we make a mistake, we correct that mistake. We don't grovel, we don't whine, we don't complain. We don't be sorry. Like, be sorry. Apology is fine. Forgiveness is fine. But we're not going to be sorry. Because we're going to step up. Going to correct ourselves. And that's holding yourself accountable. Holding yourself accountable to the culture, meaning the standards of the business, the standards of your family, the standards of society. And this is lacking on a level where we get into the tribalism and our united states, our united mind states, the different mind states we have in the U.S. And we have different mentalities. We have different heritage. Whether our people have been here for hundreds of years or you're new, or you're just an individual out here with a different type of mindset, different type of mind state. We have to hold each other accountable and uplift each other. Now, I love talking about the margins. This is how I look at things. It's like, me and maybe saying, okay, how did we get in deep here? We talking about creeps, freaks, and frauds. We talking about criminals. I didn't drop what I was leaning towards. I'll drop it now. Sociopaths, psychopaths. Because I like to go to the margins. We're not talking about that. But if we're not holding these people accountable, if we're not holding ourselves when we make a misstep accountable, then we have to hold each other accountable at every level. And when you start with self, you begin to say, man, I need people to hold me accountable. Otherwise, how am I going to grow? I know I start to be offended. I can't be a good teacher. I can't be a good coach. I can't give people great service. I can't be the best in the world at what I'm here put on this planet to do, to be the best in the world at. If people aren't calling me out, if people aren't giving me suggestions, without teachers, without coaches, without accountability. But it all starts with me. It all starts with me and my commitment to be a good teacher, to be a good coach, to be a good father. To pursue, to give myself permission to pursue my small P purpose and be my big P purpose. That's the messaging today. You're going to be the best in the world at what you do. And you're going to get there by walking through the mistakes and leveling yourself up. Going through the pain to get the gain. It's not all pain. As I said, the brushing things aside of saying, oh, that went wrong. But again, these are all throwing a lot of words out. What's coming back as far as our language, let me get back to that. These are all tests. We have a theory and we test it out. And then we make the adjustments to align ourselves with truth. That's ultimately what this is all about. Being honest enough to realign ourselves with truth. And there's been so many coaches, so many teachers I know I've had in my life that just didn't stay on the path. They were elders, or no, they were olders, not elders. And now that I'm in my 40s, I think about, man, these jokers were clowns. A lot of these cats were some bozos. They might have had technical skill, they didn't have character, and they didn't know how to really help someone on the mental piece. And any coach, any teacher knows when it really comes down to it, you can have all the technical skill, but if you're not tapping into the heart, if you're not tapping into someone's mind, believing in them, loving on them, getting them buying into you and believing in you as a teacher that can take them to the next level, whether they're a young person or an old or a grown person, then that is not my definition of a good or a great or a best in the world teacher. So as we continue, you give yourself permission. I believe you have a purpose. I believe that purpose is to be the best in the world at what you do and who you are. So give yourself permission to be yourself and know you have the strength to fight through the ego and have the dignity of making mistakes and correcting yourself to get some real gains and level up. So what are we working on today? Of being the best in the world. Travis Soda Well, it's Pure Sound Daily Business. Peace.